Hello, my name is Kiera Williams. I'm a mental health intern for Project GAME, which stands for Giving Adolescents Meaningful Experiences. Project GAME is important to me because I get to teach children about mental health and basically bring awareness to certain issues and topics that many people don't talk about.
Hello everyone, my name is Jasiri X. I'm a success coach for Project GAME. What Project GAME means for me is basically opportunity. The acronym GAME, Giving Adolescents Meaningful Experiences, basically speaks for itself. I love this role because I get a chance to work with the youth and give them resources and tools that they're maybe not accustomed to in their everyday life.
My name is LaVon Wesley, and I'm the lead success coach of Project GAME. Project GAME is important to me because at one point in time, I was one of the individuals that are participating in our programs. And I know the importance of having mentorship and resources available to you. So I'm in the game.
My name is Eric Ewell. I am the Director of Continuing Education here at Penn State Greater Allegheny, where Project GAME is housed. Project GAME stands for Giving Adolescents Meaningful Experiences. I'm excited about the program because I was one of the original authors. So to see the program move from concept to reality and to see the lives that are being changed is life-changing for me. So we have an opportunity to be a part of something that's so special, that affects the lives of so many. That's why Project GAME is special to me.
I refuse to have a stale, fixed mindset and tendencies of needing to look smart.
Instead, I choose to have a growth mindset, knowing my intelligence has no bounds.
So I accept challenge and setback, for my persistence and effort will lift obstacles like weights.
Strengthening my mental abilities, I have no bounds.
The main objective for Project GAME is to disrupt the school-to-prison pipeline. We created this program because we want to have our kids start to develop a growth mindset. So we push into schools and assist across Allegheny County to teach many lessons on 3 major topics. Each one of these individual topics has a growth mindset foundation behind it. So we like to do a True Colors personality assessment, and then we also like to do a unit on mental health, and then of course another unit on growth mindset, in addition to professionalism and a few other units that we have. But those are our 3 foundational units, all centered around growth mindset. And with that being said, we are able to go ahead and give these individuals a true assessment of who they are, best ways to communicate with each other and other individuals, identify career paths, and also identify post-secondary and possibly other employment options as well if they don't choose to pursue a post-secondary education. In this way, this allows them to create a plan, something that we call ISP, which Kyrie could go ahead and touch on.
To add on that, just LaVon mentioned, with our initial group for Project GAME, we push into the buildings. We try to start them with an ISP. ISP is a short term for an individual success plan. Each individual boy or girl in our program is established one. When we first push in, the first thing we do is establish a True Colors assessment. A True Colors assessment is basically just us understanding each individual and finding better ways to communicate with them. Moving on from there, I like to establish SMART goals. So yeah, basically what SMART goals is we're establishing actionables, and we have to accomplish them in a timely manner. What I mean by actionables is we like to put steps in place to ensure that we accomplish the goals we want to get done. In addition to the SMART goals, we're able to establish career paths based off the True Colors assessment that we established with these individuals.
Absolutely, Kyrie. So like he said, with those results from the True Colors personality assessment, we are able to identify what careers best match our kids' temperaments and their communication skills. So we're able to go ahead and create a success map, and that's the purpose of this individual success plan, is to give them something tangible that they can take with them and identify careers that they're interested in, the best ways to communicate with them and others, and also create goals that allow them to grow. And when Kyrie mentioned the actionables and in a timely manner, what we do is make sure we put a date on every goal. So that way we identify if we're moving as we should on target or if we need to make some adjustments and pivot for these young men. In addition to that, like I said, we also do the mental health aspect, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. We were fortunate enough to have an intern, Kiara, that helps us out with developing these lessons. She's actually getting her master's in biobehavioral studies. And with that being said, we were able to go ahead and create lessons that are surrounded around anxiety, PTSD, and many other issues that our kids suffer with. And we're able to provide them with coping strategies and also resources to take home, such as phone numbers and hotlines to call if they need to get in contact with anyone, and also websites and also hardcore papers that they could take that has different coping strategies that can help them out if they're dealing with something such as anxiety that can help them bring themselves down and calm themselves temporarily.
And don't forget, we always try to incorporate growth mindset in every lesson we do. I always leave the boy with a quote like this: your current situation is not your final destination.
Absolutely. And for more information on Project Game and Penn State Greater Allegheny, feel free to get in contact with us by visiting our website, which will show for you at the bottom of the screen, and as well as emailing myself or Kyrie, which information will be available to you as well. Thank you.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our conference, What PA Needs to Know About Juvenile Justice, brought to you by Penn State Greater Allegheny Project Game, which you just saw a video of to see the great work that they're doing in terms of working with our students. And of course, One Hood Media. We're going to have a dope conversation today around mentoring. You know, we have, three brothers who, if you are in the Pittsburgh area and you talk about mentoring, or you just be outside, you don't know at least one of these brothers. You have interacted with one of these brothers. And what's beautiful about the brothers that are on this panel is probably 100 times out of 100, your interaction with these brothers has been positive, and you've left with something. You've left with a greater understanding, more consciousness, more love than when you met these brothers. So if we can bring on our panel Cornell Jones, who does so much, works for the city Iron Cross Ministry. He's also, full disclosure, he's on the board of One Hood Media, and we appreciate his support, and Poise Foundation, and a whole bunch of other stuff that he does. Kevin McNair, who's the founder and CEO of One Nation Mentoring. I mean, can we call you KK on the show?
Yeah, we cool. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. McNair, I feel like I don't want you to do me like Deion Sanders. Call me Coach Sanders. Don't call me at all. And our brother, man, he, a lot of these brothers also my mentor. Brother Malcolm, man, has been just somebody that has been doing so much work in our community. He taught me a lot when I met him in the school system. And brother, we're happy to see you healthy, man, and with us, man. It brings a smile to my heart, man. I know your families as well.
Yeah.
And so why don't I start with you, Malcolm, or Brother Men? You know what I'm saying? That's how we know you as. Yeah. Just tell us a little bit about like how you got into the work that you do now, and about the organization, your Reaching Back organization, and the great work you all are doing currently.
Well, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Peace. I just want to say, excuse me, I have my camp T-shirt on, y'all. So I'm here at camp me and my wife run. But I got into, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. And just it's an honor to be here with brothers who I have such great respect and admiration for, in terms of working with you in the trenches and trying to make some things happen for the community and the world. So thank you. So I got into this actually, man, to tell my story, family, I wanted to be an artist, and I was a visual artist. And I went into school and I said, well, I don't want to do that. And I went into psychology. And right around that time, a lot of young men started getting shot. This is in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s. And I changed my major to education. And when I came back to get a job, there were no jobs immediately going into the schools. There was a waiting list. And so I met with a guy named Alex Matthews from the board, and he apparently was so impressed with the interview, he called me back like maybe a day or two later and said, I have another job for you at the Hill House. And I moved over and took this position at the Hill House as one of the teachers for the Young Fathers program and Young Mothers program. And then we started our own mentoring program, and I became the coordinator for the Young Fathers mentoring component of that in 1994. And that's how I got kicked into it. And then from there, I went to work at the National Council for Urban Peace and Justice. And then it went from there, mother to son, and a whole host of other things. And that took me into the schools. And then I went to Mercy and ended up working. And probably since then, I've worked in 20 schools in the district.
Wow.
And what I did is I created, for reaching back, a confluence of 5 different roles that I found myself having played. One was teacher, one was coach, because I was a sports coach and a coach. One was counselor, my mental health background. One was mentor, and one was leadership developer, because I really believe we need to have leaders, and every program needs to be leadership development. So I took those 5 things and brought it into one and made a fist, and I created a job title for myself.
Man, and I know that was the short version, because I know you can get super deep into it, and I always, whenever I see you, I always think of our great brother, man. May Allah be pleased with our brother Dawood Akbar. Because I met you all at the same time, man, and just another person whose spirit is always with us and just has a profound effect on Pittsburgh. Brother Kevin, what got you? Tell us a little bit about, because I met you through Be Me.
Yeah.
And I remember it's almost like, when you, I don't know if you ever have experience where you like buy a car and then all of a sudden you see that car all the time. And now I wasn't familiar with you, and I met you at Be Me, and it seemed like maybe 30 seconds later you were everywhere. I seen you all over the place, all over the city. I seen all the work that you were doing. And so if you could just give me a little bit about what caused you to start One Nation, and kind of like where you see yourselves and the stuff that you all are doing right now.
Cool. Definitely appreciate you, good brother, just for having me on here. Originally, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was actually at school in Winston-Salem State University and transferred to Slippery Rock. While attending Slippery Rock, unfortunately, during the Cal Youth house party, my cousin was unfortunately shot and died at the house party. So when that happened, I was already taking business management classes, but Slippery Rock also had a nonprofit management kind of department. It wasn't fully formed yet. So I was in one class, really just understanding about nonprofits, working with people. And when it happened, we had a group project. We had to create our own nonprofit. And my teacher said, man, you're doing some amazing stuff. You're doing great work. But when your cousin passed, I'm seeing how it affects you. How can we create something so other people can be in position to gain from the experiences and not be negatively affected by it? So right then in class, I actually created an idea about a nonprofit I wanted to do called Helping Hands. Unfortunately, when I graduated, there were no jobs, but I had an opportunity to be a Hines Fellow. And during that time, I was at Brashear High School. Two of my other co-founders, one was at Westinghouse and one was also at Obama. What we decided to do when the program came to an end was not come to kids' lives and leave how we had done in the past because of the job that we had, but we decided to create our own organization, really taking the best academic support they were using at Obama, the best socialization and character development they were using at Westinghouse, and kind of creating a hybrid program. So since then, we've been in different schools, partnered with public, private, and charter just to continue to provide support for our students in those spaces.
Oh, no, that's great and excellent and much needed work in Ohio schools as well. We lost, Malcolm is at his camp, so we lost his signal. So we're going to work to get, Malcolm's signal back up as we continue. Let's move to you, Reverend Jones. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you've been, I think what's interesting about you were like birthed into this work. You were born into this activist family. Your father and your family, the work that you all have done. And like I was saying, like I met you at Urban Youth Action.
Yes, sir.
So, it was like when I met you, you were mentoring young people and you're still doing it to this day. So just talk about like how you got into it and, the work that you're doing currently.
I appreciate it, bro. And the real talk, I was excited to be on this panel with these amazing brothers, man. Like, And as you know, man, like, you know, my father was still is my superhero. You know what I mean? Like, that was, even though he's deceased now, that was the one who I studied in. You know, he's the founder of, you know, the Poise Foundation. And before that, you know, back in 1966, founded Urban Youth Action. And in Urban Youth Action, you know what I mean? I'd always see him serving people, you know, and working with people and loving on people and all that type of stuff. And like, you know, real talk, like, I wanted to do that type of stuff. And then, you know, later on, you know, through the years, from, you know, everything from working at Urban Youth Action to working for the school board to working in the detention centers to working in the penitentiary to everywhere, and even, you know, running the street intervention program for the city, like, all those things really came together, man. I got to the point where I was tired of seeing people hurting and just wanted to find ways to help people walk in their purpose. And like, this was their passion. Like, I still, like, you know, I wake up thinking, how could I help somebody? You know what I mean? On a regular basis. And it's just, you know, through the years, things have transformed so many ways where, you know, I've, you know, still mentored young people and mentoring older people too. You know what I mean? You know, one thing I found out is a lot of the older people that didn't have, you know, mentors will look towards somebody who's willing to listen to them. So like, my passion is still like, this is where my heart's at. And I found out by mentoring, you know, people, it's helping them to find, you know, a reason for existence. You know what I mean? People want help and they want to take it to another level. I'm just here to just speak a good word and help push them to, in a lot of ways, be a coach. You know what I mean? To help coach them to another level, man. So it's been a blessing. And my dad was the one who was my my Mr. Miyagi. That was the one I studied. You know what I mean? I studied, and, you know what I mean? I still, you know, think about just the strategies that he did, and I utilize them strategies now that he's been deceased for 20 years. You know what I mean?
No, that's a powerful, you know, message and work that you do. You know, and just, you know, a lot of this is similar to my story. For those that don't know my story, you know, I had a job at a program called Youth Education and Scholarship, where it was like working with young people, and I really enjoyed it. But I went on, actually I was a mortgage broker, and although I was making good money at the time, it wasn't fulfilling work to me. And so I was like, I want to do something else. And a friend of mine, actually a sister named Linda Bay, worked at Pittsburgh Public Schools and was like, yo, I can get you into Pittsburgh Public Schools. And I remember getting a job at Pittsburgh Public Schools. And that's when I started to really begin this work that I'm doing. That's when I met Malcolm and Daoud Akbar and Cornell. It was like Luke Mon. It was like we all were in the schools. It was so Richard Carrington was one of the first folks that I met when I was at Carrick High School. And so it was like I began to meet all of these brothers inside the school system that were kind of doing this work, and it encouraged, you know, us. And then that was really the genesis of what became One Hood. Was that, you know, we were all of us were like, you know, kind of like we were the younger activists then, brother.
I had a little more hair and less gray.
This was like 2005, y'all. It was like
yes, sir.
Years ago. And we all like worked with young Black men in some form of capacity. And we was like, let's come together and try to change the way, kind of like the narrative around young Black men. That was even where like we wanted something. We wanted to call it One Hood. We didn't want it to be corny. We wanted it to be something that was hip hop that folks could relate, because we were also coming with this culture piece. You know, our brother Paradise's birthday was yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Definitely shout out to Paradise. And so that was kind of the genesis of it. We're at a point now. I mean, we're you know, a lot of those kind of reasons why we saw things. I do want to talk about, like, I'll start with you, brother Kevin. Like, you're in the schools. You know, the schools is a place. You know, and my work in the schools was one where I didn't see a lot of Black men in the schools outside of sometimes folks coming in. And I oftentimes saw what I felt was like, you know, Black men being like kind of like profiled in the schools, whether it be by security or even teachers in some type of I haven't been in the schools in a minute. Like, you talk about like what's happening in the schools right now, and what are some ways that or things that we can do to kind of prevent, you know, these young men from getting caught in that school to prison pipeline.
Yeah. And let me first off by saying that schools are reflective of the world. So if we all as adults may experience any type of racism, if we all as adults may experience anything that we don't want to deal with, those same feelings are brought into the school building by not only the people who work there, but also the kids who come from those families. So by us being kind of like that main line of defense, it's easy for us to not only support the student, but also just show them different ways to help navigate those spaces. That's why I feel like it's a blessing to me to be there, because I've been a kid and I also understand how you view the world, and I also see how people view them in today's time. So by me understanding, I can show students how can we use this space and to help navigate to get what we want out of life rather than seen as an obstacle. But it's sad. We definitely have teachers who want to help. We have teachers who don't know how to help. And we have some teachers who think that because they're successful in their minds, that students should continue to listen to what they say to get that same type of success. So, it's definitely different. I think that one thing we try to do a lot is just, we are ourselves. So my other co-founder, Lloyd, he goes to school every day with his grill. I have tattoos visibly. I have dreadlocks. So it's like, I want people to see that you can be great in any form of fashion. It's all about what you think, how you're acting, what you're actually doing. So that's our first thing, getting our kids to be comfortable being themselves. Secondly, we also try to get our kids to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think so often we see ourselves one side inside of the school space, and the streets and the music kind of portray that same thing. But our thing is, you're only able to grow when you're able to be comfortable and move through certain things. So we have this year, in the last couple of years, we've been blessed to have our own class. We're not able to only mentor, but we actually are able to provide students with conflict resolution, social emotional learning, social emotional support, and just knowing who they are and really just understanding how to best respond in certain situations to get the thing that they want.
No, that's powerful, and that's great work. And before we go, we're going to ask everybody to share just how we can get in touch with folks. And we'll have some questions. I see Rachel have a question. We'll bring on. So if you do have some questions for these brothers, please drop your questions in the chat. We're going to get to those questions as well. I want to come to you, Brother Malcolm, because a lot of times, sometimes we have the brothers that might need it most kind of have different folks and different programs like pulling on them. Like, what are some ways that you've been able to connect with brothers, in a real, I mean, to me, this is one of your great traits, is like you're able to make like a real relationship with the people you mentor. Like, how do you get past that initial stage where you might try to talk to a young brother and you face that resistance to like, now, man, you're really, they trust you?
Well, couple things I've tried to do, man, and some of it's been through trial and error, brothers. Part of it is I realize that the people say people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's a cliche, but I realize that you have to be very intentional about showing people that you're invested in them and not just in having them hear you. I used to think that I was someone when I was younger who had a message for people. And what I realized is that people weren't necessarily ready for that message or interested in that message until I was able to go into their environment. So what I would do is real simple things. I would make sure that every day that I was at the lunchroom at lunchtime, I would go into the gym classes, any off period I had, rather than sitting off by myself. I would go into any place where students congregated in their discretionary time to build relationships with. That means I would hoop. Anytime they had gym, I would go out in there hooping, or I would go to the hoop court with them. If they were in weight room or they were on sports teams, I would go out and work out with the team. I would go into the neighborhoods where any of my kids lived. I live in the Hill, but I would literally go to the neighborhoods and have neighborhood events and go meet their families. One of my philosophies is the way to really form some of the best relationships with people is to forge relationships and foster.
Oh man. Oh, brother was teaching, but I mean, I you know what I mean? Like we lost the signal. He's at camp. We're gonna try to get him back. But no, that's that important work, right? Like you gotta know, they gotta know that you real, and you do similar stuff, Cornell, because you're on the front line. I mean, when we talk about like front line right now, and we've seen an uptick in violence kind of post-COVID, man, and you're like literally out there, in communities where folks are losing their lives. What are some ways, man, and some things you do to connect with these brothers that are kind of caught up right now, but you're kind of, they're thinking about like right now, and we're trying to get them to think about like 5 years, 6 years, 10 years down the line, because we want them to still be here and still growing. What are some things that you do?
Man, what's funny is, listening to Malcolm, Malcolm is a little bit older than me. So as the streets would say, he's my old head. So a lot of the stuff that he's doing, it's funny because my brothers pass that on to me, and that's the same stuff that we do. You know what I mean? 99% of this stuff is relationship. You know what I mean? If I don't have a relationship with somebody, people aren't gonna listen. You know what I mean? So like in a lot of ways, myself and my outreach teams, like we build a relationship. We build a relationship. So when it comes down to it, and when I'm trying to help somebody, the people that I'm working with, because of those relationships, they'll listen to somebody because they see, number one, you care about me. You took some time to see where I'm at. I can't tell you how many times I take people out to eat, man. You know what I mean? Just for that fellowship, just to be able to love on them so many times. And I know, loving on them it sounds like a cliche, but that's key. That's key. You know what I mean? That's key. Meeting people where they're at, loving on them, giving them resources, finding out not just where that person is, but what's going on with your children, what's going on with your situation. Like, because there's a lot of, we see the end result of what's going on, but there's a lot of things that have gone on. How could I help you get therapy? How could I walk with you through the process? So in a lot of ways, like Brother Malcolm was teaching, brother, he was teaching too, brother.
Right.
Was really just loving on the people where they're at, you know what I mean? And fellowshipping with them. And this ain't us versus them. Like, we in this together, man. Let's lock arms and pull this through. So that's really it, man. I mean, and so like really utilizing these things. And when I'm blessed now, man, because I've been doing this so long, now I'm teaching others how to do this stuff. You know what I mean? So Brother Malcolm taught me in a lot of ways. You taught me. We all sharpen each other's iron. I'm learning from KK. Just we help each other. We learn from each other. Then we're passing it on to other people who want to learn this type of stuff. So now, I'm in a role where I'm showing people some of the different strategies of just how to love on people, just sort of take the genius that they have and sort of redirect a lot of these things so that they can be effective in schools, being able to be working, to be able to be effective in a penitentiary if you're working in there or on the block, wherever it is that they're going, just taking these and utilizing the God-given gifts that they already have and just taking things to another level.
Yeah, I mean, that's powerful. I think listening too, man. I think I remember one of the earliest experiences that when we started the One Hood Media Academy, and I tell this story a lot. And I remember me thinking like, yo, we're gonna drop all this knowledge. I'm about to school all these youngins on how the world works. And we were in a conversation, and this was around when the Occupy movement was going on. And I remember sharing some information, and this was a young Jordan Montgomery, who is now has Driving While Black Records and doing a lot of great stuff as an artist and has his own movement. And I remember he said, well, Jasiri, that this is just an oligarchy anyway. And I remember thinking, like, how you know that? What you know about these words? It's like, and I realized, like, yo, like the a lot of times we young people are more aware than we even think. They know more than we even think. Yeah. And if I just, instead of me trying to talk and think about what I'm going to give to them, kind of reverse that scenario and really listen. And kind of say like, okay, tell me about yourself. Like, what do you think? How do you think we need to get out of this? And what are some, and you'll find, man, the brilliance of our young people. And so like it kind of allowed us to pivot just as One Hood to say, you know what, we want to try to create a situation where we want to share your story. It's not about our story. It's not about like, you got to rap like me or be conscious. Like, nah, man, tell me your experience. Tell me your story. And that listening part and like centering them, I think also gives folks an understanding of like, okay, this isn't just about like, because it's a lot of programs and it's a lot of folks getting money, and sometimes the students can feel like, oh, I'm just here because you got a grant, and we're just kind of going through the process of it. And so I think the part of it is like, nah, like you're the person. It's it's like you're the person that's at the center of this. We're trying to learn from you. And that creates a different relationship. You were teaching, brother, before your thing got dropped.
My phone I'm in the sun, and they said my phone overheated twice. It just shut completely down, y'all. So I put the AC on. I hope it's not making too much noise. Like on the phone. No, we hear you.
All
right. So, but the other thing I wanted to say, I think is important, because I learned this from my mentors, is I believe that it's important to have a relationship with at least one other adult that's in the life of that child. So I've made it my rule to meet, once I get to a certain level of closeness or seek a certain level of rapport with a child, I go to their home or I go to one of their coaches, or I go to one of the teachers. I figure out who they're already connected to, who I feel like is really invested in them, even if it's an older brother or sister, and I work with that person. I get their cell phone number, I give them mine, and I believe that, you know, when you work with kids, you also are, you know, adopting, becoming an extended family member. It's not just a one-on-one linear relationship, but we believe that even beyond mentoring, we believe in extended family. So, you know, once you become a part of that extended family, it's like meeting a sister, you know, who has some children. It's a package deal. Once I know you, I'm trying to go know your family, let them know who I am, and let them know that I'm a part of whatever they are. And I'm not trying to be the thumb. I'm just the pinky. I'm just here to help. And I try to be humble. And I try to make sure that, you know, I'm doing certain things. Sometimes it might seem a little bit tedious to some people, but I attend their games. If they're on a sport, I try to go to as many functions and games as I can. You know, a real quick story. There was a young sister who's now working in the schools, and she was on the track team. And I was going to see, you know, the track team is all the kids. So I was at all her track meets. At the end of the year, we had a banquet with Dr. Akbar, and we were together. She started crying. And she said, I want to thank you for coming to all my track meets, because no one else in my family ever came to see me run. And she just broke down. And I didn't realize it was a big deal, but I was, you know, there just to support in a small way all of those kids. But those are just some of the ways, because I believe that it's a circular thing. It's never just a one-on-one relationship you have with somebody. But, you know, anybody who's a father knows if you're not on the right page with the mom, you know, it interferes with the relationship with that child. So it's about extended family.
No, that's good teaching, brother. And that's just like you said, it's those little things sometimes that we think. I remember having a conversation with a foundation, and you know, it was like something like, oh, that hold up, one of the students just texted me, and they were like, you text, like that was like foreign to them. They were like, you text your students? I'm like, they have my cell phone. I had like, yeah, like this is how we communicate. And it was kind of like, oh, well, most people don't have, and it shocked me, to be honest with you. It was kind of, you know, then it made me like, well, who are you giving money to? They don't even know how to get in touch with these people. But just like you saying, that extra step is super important. Brother KK, can you talk about like some of the barriers, you know what I'm saying? Because like, you know, you have these programs, and it's like, it seems like to me on certain levels, it could be very simple, but a lot of times there are, like, whether they be, you know, certain barriers that sometimes prevent us. Can you talk about some of the barriers that you've encountered in your work and how you've been able to navigate them?
Yeah, I think I've been blessed because I don't have kids in the moment. So I really want to create systems for when my kids do go to school, they'll understand how to be successful in those spaces. I think that a lot of barriers are because there's so many different layers of support and there's not enough transparency. Nobody knows what everybody's doing, but certain people want to be in control of the kids because of the funding sources. So really it's about understanding the space that you're going into and really navigating those spaces. I think that now Pittsburgh Public Schools is trying to do better as far as letting more organizations get connected to the students. But as community organizations, we know the kids, we know their parents, we know their lifestyles. So I think it's our job just to, although it may be hard, just to keep pushing forward to create the change that we know we want to see and really go outside of traditional systems and create our own systems of success. Again, I work with Brother Malcolm heavily, so I learned so much from him. So I know that when I talk to a kid, I'm understanding what they're doing, but they may need a job outside of school. Well, all right, cool. Who can I connect the kid to outside of school to where they have another support system so it's not all falling on me, but I can keep doing what I'm doing. But then also connect them with supportive services that help them get what they want out of life. I think that if we can just be more mindful of just how the system works and really just creating what we want rather than just waiting for it to come to us. Because for real, we are the solution to our kids. We know that, right? Everybody may not know what to do, but unfortunately, other people are in control of the resources that help our kids. So regardless of what they give us, we got to work anyway. So let's just be more mindful about working together and really creating these genuine bonds and relationships to where I don't care who needs. Well, I know some kids interested in music and different media pieces. I'm pushing to Jasiri. So it's like, it's just an easier connection amongst ourselves.
Absolutely. And you know, I've actually found that the students that were involved in different programs oftentimes are like the most successful. Like, so we will have students that were a part of, for instance, we will have folks that come through One Hood and come through Center for Life. You know what I'm saying? Because we kind of do. And it was like, those were often the ones that was like some of the most successful folks. So it was like, yo, you don't have to, we're not gang banging. Like, you got to choose between us and Pastor Tim. It's like, nah, it's like, yo, you know, we provide similar stuff, but on a kind of different frameworks. You know what I'm saying? So like, go hit them up if you need us. And like, you know, me and brother have also been communicating more, working together. So just like you said, that piece of like, you know, we're part of like a ecosystem, you know, and it's like, so let's support, you know, one another ecosystem. Let's support one another. And that's key. I want to come to you, Cornell, because you have been, I mean, you've been a part of, like, you've been a community organization where you're like doing things on your own, but you're also currently right now, you're like working with the city. What are some of the differences in terms of where you're kind of like, so you've been like inside the system, outside the system, you know, you've been a chaplain inside the prisons. What are some of the differences in terms of like trying to help get resources that you've experienced, like working with the city or working with, you know, inside the prison system, as opposed to kind of doing some of the stuff like Iron Cross that, or the, you know, the radio station work that you're doing on your own?
So some of the, I would say that there's some of the challenges would be, because I've worked in both. I've learned that I had to build some strength on an individual level. I cherish the outside relationships that I've already built, you know what I mean, through the years. I know for a fact that I could call you, Brother Malcolm, Brother KK, you know what I mean, at any moment, and really really make things hot, you know what I mean, and really know that I'm bringing solid resources, solid people. You know, walked into certain schools and see Brother KK and see other people who've been doing amazing work through the years, and you know, I'm thankful that I had a lot of these relationships before even stepping foot into this role. You know, it's funny because I'm through those relationships. I could go in any school, I could go in any penitentiary, any juvenile, and any place where we need to go to be able to help, you know, help that person that we're blessed to work with. And I'm really thankful for that, because a lot of people can't do that. So, you know, knowing the right people, having the right connections, and getting the right resources, and honestly having the city, you know, believe in me to say, Cornell, we back you 100%, because this is who we put in this position. So what do you need from us? And what do you need? What resources can we put to sort of support what you're doing, so we could take things to another level with who you're able to work with? It's funny because in a lot of ways, a lot of these things that we're doing, it's like a big old reunion, because I'm just working with the same people I've been working with the last 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, in the trenches, you know what I mean? From people of different faiths to people of, you know, that have worked in the school system, to people that I work, you know, with, even down in the joint. And what's wild, even, and hopefully I'm right on track with what you're saying still, even in a lot of ways, a lot of people that I've worked serving with that were in some of these spots from the penitentiary, who've gotten out, have been a lot of my resources when I go to the hood. You know what I mean? Have been, you know what I mean, OG such and such is like, you know, that's Big Rev coming up in here. You know, one type of thing, what you need, Rev. So really just being able to connect with the right people, pull all the things together like Voltron, and really make things happen. You know what I mean? And I think that's been really effective, connecting, and really just effective in a way that's one of the main reasons I feel like we were able to see some type of change. And my hope and my prayer is that continues. You know, brother KK said we got everything we need, and I believe that, and I know that. I think it's just important for all of us to continue to work together and be on one accord, so we could really see the transformation. I've walked in Pittsburgh Public Schools with brother Jasiri and brother Malcolm at a time when it was chaos, and some other brothers during that, like, there was chaos. And when we came up in there working for different organizations, but when we came up in that spot, we shut stuff down. You know what I mean? We shut stuff down, and there was some real transformation but the presence of when we walked up in there, because of our relationships that we had, you know, each one was able to look at, here, I know these four right here, I know their families and all that type of stuff. So we were able to deal with the situations and we were able to bring some peace. I believe that we continue to lock arms and do that type of stuff, making sure that we include the sisters and doing what we're doing in everyone's role, you know what I mean, will really make some transformation.
No, excellent. That's an excellent point. And
can I say this really Jasiri too? Can I say this real fast? Something that was important was when you were talking about like, you know, listening to people, you know, the people that schooled me the most were the lifers in the penitentiary, man. You know what I mean? The people that everybody gave up on, they schooled me the most. And when I went to the juvenile facilities and working with the young cats, the ones who were like in the streets, like those are the ones who would sit there and say, Brother Jones, you've been doing it wrong all this time, man. Listen, brother, this is what you might want to do. And I thank God that I listened to them, because, you know, in a lot of ways, a lot of the strategies that I use now came from cats who were like, listen, this is my way of giving back. And some of those people are actually rocking with me right now, even on my squad. You know what I mean? A lot of them will never be able to step foot out them walls, but the legacy of what they planted in me is going forth for the rest of the time that I'm doing it. So, you know, I'm putting their plants, their seeds in other people so they can keep that stuff going too. So I just felt that was important, because I respect cats who've been locked up, who've done their time, and they were really trying to make some change. So that was important. Thank you, brother.
No, man, that's you know, super important. You know, one of our biggest inspirations as we were moving was a brother that, you know, had got, you know, life without parole. Brother Salaam, you know, Robert Salaam Holbrook, and, you know, and we was with him. And then, you know, when he first reached out to One Hood and was sharing with us information, he didn't think he would get out. You know, thankfully now he's out. He's executive director of Abolitionist Law Center, but he was somebody that just kind of, like you said, had that time, was like, hey man, here's some game for y'all. You know, here's some ways, you know, I see what y'all are doing. Here's some ways that I can help. And just like you said, like, we got to be willing to also be mentored. I think you had said that, you know what I'm saying? Like, part of being a mentor is being willing to be mentored and kind of also take this information. And it reminded me when you had just put a picture out, I guess all the brothers that kind of helped at you know, in July 4th. And just like you said, it was like, oh, these are all brothers that I know them all, been with for the last 20 years. Pittsburgh's small like that. So it was cool to see.
It was a reunion, man. That's all.
Yeah.
This is what
like,
we do.
Oh, and it was like, oh, no. Just like you said, oh, no wonder it was successful. Look at all the brothers that came through and made sure that was a peaceful celebration. So shout out to y'all, man. Thanks, and man. Let's continue to help one another. I wanted to come to you, Brother Malcolm, because, you know, one of the questions, and you know, it's one of the things that, that game focuses on, a lot of folks focus on, is like, you know, we kind of focused on media because we saw media kind of like paint a narrative of black men, particularly young black men, that we felt was like only highlighting the negative, and 99% of this media was created by white people, you know what I'm saying? And so we felt like a lot of times what was being given to our young black men was like a negative view of themselves. A lot of times when we engage with our young people, we're trying to get them to see like the greatness that inside. Sometimes you don't see your own greatness. Like somebody else has to tell you, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you can do this. So like, how do you make that connection where, you know, you're, because I think a lot of your work, man, is you're kind of pulling out, man, the greatness that's already inside of our young people. What are some ways that we can do that, whether it be the folks that we work with on a daily basis or if we want to get involved?
Well, brother, you know, one thing for me is, you know, I have these things, I used to call them the 7 C's, but I can't call it that now because there's a couple more 7 C's, but I start calling them the 7 C's, but one of them is consciousness. And I believe that what I learned is I never had a great relationship with anybody that I had negative regard for in my whole life. Never, not once. And I never even had a good interaction at the moment that I was thinking ill of somebody. I realized everybody I had a problem with, I tended to harbor certain negative thoughts about them, even if they seem to be justified. And so what I had to first of all look at is become conscious of what my view is of people. And I believed for me, I was blessed because I'm not good at a lot of things. A lot of things I had to, what you see is a brother who's a work in progress. You know, I had to work on a lot of things. I couldn't communicate effectively. I couldn't do a lot of different things. But one thing I could do even as a little kid is I could see what was good about another person. They might not even like me, but I'm like, but you know, that brother's this. And I could never hate anybody. Because I could see good things about another person easily. And I used to think I was weak as a child. You know, I thought I was weak when I was little. So I couldn't hold a grudge And I didn't have like a hard heart. And I thought I was weak. I really did. I used to struggle with it. But I realized I had to turn that into a strength for me. And so part of it, I think, is looking at your lens first. But also what I do is I engage in a lot of call and response and a lot of affirmative talk. You know, I think all of us talk to ourselves, but we don't know what to say. You know, we're all talking to ourselves. We just don't say the right things. And so what has to happen is we want to put thoughts in people's head that they hear it so many times. Because a lot of the thoughts you have that we have, we think there are thoughts, but they really have come from someone else. Someone said that about us when we were 2, when we were 4. Someone said that around us when we were in a receptive state. So we saw that on TV and we're thinking thoughts, but where did those thoughts really come from? So we're actually thinking in someone else's voice and language most of the time. So what I learned we have to do is we have to change that language. We have to be intentional. No, the language cannot be accidental or inadvertent. It has to be very intentional. So we get people saying things about themselves over and over and over and over and over. If you begin to think of yourself that way, and then I think it's important to give people an experience of that. So you're looking for talent. So when I see a talent in you, I'm trying to immediately put you in a position to affirm that. Because once you have confidence, then you can develop courage. Once I know I'm good at something and I'm strong, now I'm willing to try stuff that I might be afraid to do otherwise. Because I'm operating from a base of strength. So we try to put you in your strength zone, and then you can move outside your comfort zone. But most people have never experienced the strength first. And so I think it's important to A, look at how you see people, B, get them talking about that in a language that is in their head, and B, give them an experience that confirms that. So we're doing the reverse, of a self-fulfilling prophecy, is we're creating a positive one in terms of our strategic approach. And I learned that from people who are much wiser than me.
No, that's powerful. And that's so important. Like you said, I mean, so much sometimes is like how other people, another person views us, we might take that on instead of like really developing that voice inside. That's very powerful. I want to I'll come to you, brother KK, because it was a question that somebody had. It says, what are your young men saying about the killing of their own kind? How it's so easy to kill without worried about being locked up for the rest of their lives. You know, we had talked about it's a lot of violence happening right now. Are you and I'm sure you are, man, having those conversations with young brothers. What are you saying? What's being said? And do we have any tips for folks that are like really frustrated right now by the level of violence that we're seeing happen in our community?
I think we first have to give our kids the opportunities to understand who they are. So often they think that they're Chief Keef. They think that they're the latest music star, to where we're identifying with these behaviors and these identities when we don't know who we are. So when we get upset in the music, what do? So when our kids are getting upset, they're kind of trying to imitate certain things that they think they should be doing. So our first thing is like, no, King, who are you? And what do you want out of life? To Brother Malcolm's point, I believe that once we see who we are and our role in things, we can start taking those necessary steps. But we have to believe it in here first, because so often people have that negative self-talk and aren't around the right people who continue to usher them toward great things. So if your community is not showing you something and you haven't seen something and the media is only showing you one thing, it's so easy to believe those things. We definitely have conversations with our kids about it. And a lot of them are scared to die, but they are also so immune to killing. Most of their, if I ask our kids who has somebody who has died, both hands are going up. If I ask them how do they deal with it, most of them initially they'll say smoking or something like that. It's like, no, King, what can we do to get you that same response or that same feeling without you having to go to what you think you should be going to? Because again, they don't know, and they're learning that from people who have told them these things. So it's really about just giving kids the opportunity to be themselves, find out what they're interested in, and really supporting that.
No, that's so powerful, because like you said, it's like, it's naturally like young people want attention, they want love. And it's like, to them, it's like, the street life gives you an opportunity to get that. Yeah. It gives you an opportunity to be a part of something. It gives you an opportunity to be loved for something. It gives you that camaraderie. And then a lot of times what's happening right now, social media is like, you also can get that clout. And so I think part of it is, and I think this is what, all of us are doing in our ways, is creating environments where you can be a part of something, you can get resources, you can get clout in a different way. And I think that's some of the things that we have to do. I think sometimes folks is like, oh, we need to shut this down. It's like, nah, like we need to provide other opportunities and other ways and other places where folks can get that love, that admiration. They could be a part of something, and they could get resources and attention. You know what I'm saying? And so I think
I think you hit it on the head. I think it's a thin line between love and clout. And unfortunately, we're trying to show our kids how to, you know what I'm saying?
That's hard.
How to live in love and not focus on the clout, because people who live their best lives are happy being themselves. And so often our kids think that they do certain things, they'll get the love from the street, they'll get the love from the girls because this is what they like. Now, you'll get the clout, but we already know, unfortunately, clout puts us where Brother Cornell had to teach at so often. So I'm trying to teach our kids from going there and taking those negative steps.
Yeah, brother. I remember listening to an interview and they asked the question, like, why do many successful artists and musicians become addicted to drugs? And part of it was when, the brother was saying, like, when you reach that pinnacle, like you think that thing that's inside of you that you are looking to fill is going to be fulfilled by that level of success. And then you reach that level of success and that's not fulfillment. And it's like, really that's that self-love that you talk about, like that, regardless of how much attention you get, that doesn't equal, or money you get, that doesn't fill that inside of self-love. And it's like, I think in many ways, all of us are working towards because that's something that you have to do for yourself. That's that affirmation that Brother Malcolm talked about as well. I have a question I want to bring to you, Brother Cornell, from Rachel. She says, my worship group and I want to be of service. How can people volunteer to help? I know you're part of the church community. How can folks volunteer if they just want to help? They want to be like a part of the solution as to what's going on in the city right now.
I mean, honestly, I'm a believer of I could setting up trainings to, I'll come out to, places of worship and set up a training to find, people's lane. Everybody got a different lane. You know what I mean? I'm finding that out, even if it's helping to bring resources for someone who's coming out of a correction institute, whatever it is, to somebody who's on the block with my outreach team and myself. You know what I mean? I can help that process. We could help find the lanes and be able to find resources in the connections to be able to help that person. I'll give you my email address if that's okay, Brother Jasiri, if I can put that out there. It's Reverend Cornell at gmail.com. That's ReverendCornell @gmail.com. I'd love to connect with you. We need everybody in the mix, and when people who are stepping up and saying, I want to help, you'll be priority for me to get back to you as soon as possible.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. Brother Malcolm, a lot of this is, and like you said, like a lot of times in this fight, for us, it's always about trying to get resources that we can kind of pass on to our young people. I know, at least for One Hood, a lot of times that's our fight. Like, being like a Black-led organization, it's like, particularly because we're connected, like all of us are like connected right on the ground with folks right on the ground. And a lot of times we see resources going to organizations that are not as connected and don't necessarily have those relationships. What are some ways that we can get resources that you've seen work where we can get resources directly to our young people? And what advice would you give for somebody that's like, kind of like what Cornell said, wants to volunteer, wants to become a mentor, wants to get into this work? What is some advice that you would give to those people?
Well, the first thing I would give, and I had to learn, as if we use the word a lot, I had to get some more game, because when I first started working with kids, a lot of stuff I was doing, it was just effort and it was just heart and just whatever individual. And I felt like I was working like a dog, but I didn't have the resources. I was using my own personal finances, to fund almost, there's times when I'm sure some of you guys have funded 100%. Stuff almost exclusively out of your pocket. And so what I had to learn is I had to get some more game. I had to learn to get more savvy about being able to code switch and go into both of those environments and be successful. And that's one of the things that helped to propel me, actually. I remember being on the board of a large, a funding organization. And I remember thinking, wow, I remember applying for funds here. But as a result of that, now I'm in a position to support other people in this regard. But I think part of it is we need to create structures to show organizational heads. That's why we created years ago the Sankofa Institute, myself, Brother Keith Murphy, and Dr. Mitchell, and we're going to revive it, but something similar to that, but about how to sustain these organizations and how to really, and I think that one of the things that was said earlier implicitly in our conversation, needs to be said again explicitly, is the thing that's so beautiful about this call and about Zooms like this or streaming or broadcasts like this is these relationships are organic. We didn't get together to try to get money together. We didn't get together. I can name probably you, and this is all brothers, about 25 other cats that we're connected to. And we really love each other. We really respect each other. We really work together. And we really, like, if Cornell calls me, he knows I'm coming. He knows if he calls me on the strength of whatever it is, I'll be there. If Kevin calls me, that's enough for me because of my respect for him. And I think that this new generation, and I consider myself older, of that kind of work is very important for that, because now we could begin to partner and begin to command $5 million budget and do some things that are really visionary that require the skill sets of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different people in organizations. And I think it takes authentic relationships to do that. So that we're not competing with each other. We're not worried about who gets the credit. We're not worried about whose face is in the paper. People aren't worried about things like that. And what I have found is that when you genuinely don't worry about that, whatever you're seeking, it'll come. Sure. As long as you're working on your skill set, it will come to you. Stuff I used to chase, now it follows me because I had to really, become just completely authentic about whatever I was doing over the past really 2 decades and say, I don't care who it is. If you're trying to help, I don't care. I'm working with you, right. if I can. And I think also to create a structure where people, maybe an institutional structure where people who are interested in helping, we can begin to funnel them in the right directions. They may have resources. They may have some sort of talent or skill set. They may need help getting clearances. They may need help with those types of things. And we can give them the intelligence as an incubator to try to help those people either start their own thing or to plug into something which is existing as a structure. And Kevin has mentioned this before in the past as well.
Yeah, we try to, it's interesting, we try to incubate, other organizations. That's one of the things that we work to do. We were able to successfully incubate Take Action Mon Valley. We're currently incubating YBMKQ. They're about to kind of go out on their own. They're doing a lot of great work. Same with Black Young and Educated. So like you said, we tried to say, okay, how can we help other organizations get to the necessary places that we were able to get where we can kind of function and hire people. So I'm with that formation, because it's like the more of us come together, not only do the more resources that we have, but also the more power that we have to have a big ass to say we're all together. We all believe in this education, mentoring piece. We're with, Project Game as well. We're all coming together and we're saying this is what we need. And then kind of like you said, now we can provide a pipeline. Oh, you want to get in this work? You have an idea? Because I'm of the attitude, I feel like we need more organizations. I know sometimes people be like, oh, come join my thing. And it's like, nah, I feel like we need more ideas. We need more innovation. And so our interest wasn't somebody trying to be like us. Our interest was trying to support people that were coming with innovative, different ideas. Black Young Educated, YBMKQ, their ideas of activism are different from ours. When Black Young and Educated said we want to protest indefinitely every Saturday, I was like, I don't know. I don't know about this. And it was one of the most successful protests that we've seen. And it's just that innovation. I do want to go a little bit over because a couple of questions just kind of came up in the chat, and it was really about COVID, and we mentoring during COVID, because a lot of stuff, people are talking about Boys and Girls Clubs are shutting down, a lot of summer programming probably shut down. So how are we, I'll come to you, KK, have you been able to do the work that you're doing during COVID, and what are some things that you were able to do to kind of circumvent, not being we haven't had our, we were doing open studios, we were doing events at our office. We haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to get into Schumann because of COVID. What are some things we can do, even though we can't really get together all like that?
Yeah, COVID actually showed us a lot about our own organization, just where we were personally. I think that so often we had focused so much on the school system to really meet our kids that we was when the school stopped and shut down, we were like, well, dang, how we supposed to continue to do the work that we did? And so often we were meeting our graduates when they came home on the weekends, but we weren't staying consistent with them when they were away. But this just showed us like, nah, now we have Zoom, now we have so many different platforms, tap in. So we was tapping in every week with our college guys. We were tapping in every couple of days with our guys that were in high school and really making sure they still have what they needed. And again, unfortunately, some of our guys didn't know what to think about COVID, but they lived with their grandparents. Some of our guys didn't know what to do, but they were still going outside. So we had to kind of use our relationships to kind of help them feel more comfortable understanding what was going on, knowing what was real, and then really just staying connected to what we know they need. But really just utilizing different platforms. I think Zoom is amazing. I think that just staying focused on different ways to do certain things. There's definitely more ways than one to skin a cat. And I think that this actually just kept me more innovative as well, because I'm a visionary. I like thinking about things and connecting dots. So I think it just showed me like, nah, the need is still there. Our kids are still outside on the block. Somebody got to teach them something. What can I do? You know what I'm saying? And thinking from that vantage point, it really allow us to continue just to open back up and do more smaller social events rather than just focusing on big events like we used to do in the past.
Absolutely. No, that's good. That's good. Teaching. So I did want to just, we're at 3:00 just to kind of some final stuff. I know, KK, I'll come back to you because you do have the sneaker ball coming up. Do you want to talk about the sneaker ball event and like how can folks sign up and be a part of not only this dope event, but supporting your organization?
Most definitely. The sneaker ball is our flagship event where we really have the adults. We really have the adult act like the kids. So often we tell our kids to be mindful, do so many different things, but it's out of their comfort zone. So for this event, we want adults to be out of their comfort zone by wearing tuxes, suits, and gowns, but also wearing tennis shoes to take a small walk in the shoes of our youth. This is something different. You guys could definitely go to Eventbrite to find out more about the ticket sale, but also follow us on social media platforms at onenationmentoring.org, on One Nation Mentoring on Facebook and IG, and just find out how you guys can also join our Crown King campaign, where we just provide our students with different experiences and different cultural and social events.
So we just dropped the link to the Eventbrite for the sneaker ball in the chat, so you can get more information about the sneaker ball. And you said onenationmentoring.org. Yep,
it's our actual website. Yeah, that's our website. And then
so you should, Mary, you should already be there. You only wear sneakers. Look, you already ready. And onenationmentoring.org. Definitely continue to support the brothers' work and support the sneaker ball. I haven't been to one, man. I'm definitely I'm coming this year to the sneaker ball. I got all these sneakers, man. I just gotta see, like I gotta try to stun on them. You know what I'm saying? I gotta try to come with the best. So I gotta see which ones work the best. Cornell, did you want to talk about like some work that you're doing right now, how folks can get involved?
Yeah, so and of course, if people want to get involved in dealing with counteracting street violence, I'm always going to put out a call to anybody that wants to get involved. We could find the lane for you, to whatever it is. There's so many different lanes that people could get involved with. Definitely trying to push out the faith-based community to step forward on this piece. Got some roles and some stuff that people could get involved with that. Like I said, like we're the school year is going to be starting up soon. I'm looking for people to go to support people from institutions to the schools to the blocks. You know what I mean? Especially someone who's been on that block back in the day. I like to call it the X factor. Someone who's X something, whatever it is, that's willing to come out there and just really love on people right where they're at, not in judgment zone, but like love on them, help direct and just be a support for that person. That's huge. The other thing is, we're still building, WXCN Power Radio is my internet radio station ran by returning citizens. You know what I mean? So, looking to continue to blow that up right there, continue to have these type of conversations. You know what I mean? I'd love to get the legend, Brother Minicat, up in the piece up, and you know what I mean? just to drop some jewels, you know what I mean? So I think that's another one right there. And I'm also working on what I call it's We Are the Village movement, which I'll be, reaching out to all of you guys and everyone in the community at large to let people know. Just it's all hands on deck to really, utilize the gifts and talents that we've been blessed to have to really love on our babies and stop the violence that's going on in our city. So that's Absolutely. It, man. Glad to be here, bro.
That's a lot. I got a text message, I think earlier this week about the movement about like being at the school the first day, like welcoming the students to school. I know that's been something that a lot of folks have been doing. That's kind of really powerful, like cheering the students on, man. So I definitely think, like you said, school is back in. Let's be there. Let's participate. Let's be a resource for our students, particularly coming back after COVID and some of these things, man. Let's do that. Brother Malcolm, you're at your camp now, man. We appreciate you taking time out of the camp, brother.
Mm-hmm.
How can we, continue to help and support the work that you're doing?
Well, a lot of ways. One way is just being a part of things like this. And I think that, as I said, my relationships with you all flow naturally. So we tend to support. I've been down a little bit health-wise over a couple months, but I'm coming back strong. You're seeing me on my best day over the past 6 months. So that's a blessing. And I'm thankful to God I feel like, I hate to say this as a cliche, but I really mean, I feel like I was born again. And so I feel like I'm coming back to live the next part of my life with 50 years of wisdom from a clean slate. Because I was going through the valley for a second. And but my current projects are a few. One is I'm a part of the Three Kings Collaborative, which Brother Kevin is a part of, along with Devon Madden, who runs Shadow Student Athletes. Also, you see me here, the Children's Window to Africa project that my wife is the executive director, and I'm the chief operations officer of that. It's an African arts program that gives people a cultural lens into Africa through the arts. We go into the housing projects all through the region and bring cultural arts to them. And also reaching back is we're trying to brand it outside of the schools, because me and Kevin talked about once university prep was no longer accessible to me, I lost access to a lot of those kids. And so I had to really go online. And so we're looking to ramp that project up as a 2.0. But I guess this is a place to make the announcement that I haven't made to anybody yet except my family. I've just been appointed as of this week as the Dean of Students at the new Lifestream STEAM Academy, which is a new school which is opening up out in Wilkins Township, out at the Parkway East. So I'm the Dean of Students there, and we'll be reaching out to all of you all. It's an all-male academy with predominantly Black male population, but serving all students, obviously. And I'm very excited about that opportunity to do some things there. And I work with Pastor Kennedy, who's the visionary of that project. He's been talking to me about it for years. And I looked at it and said, I think it's time to just, make a move. So I'll never stop doing reaching back and the other things that I do. But that's the new thing that I'm going to be doing, to try to be in an all male space and see how that goes, to bring some brothers into that space.
I'm gonna tell you, it's funny. I saw you post the I guess that was the little teaser you posted.
I threw it out and I took it down. Yep.
Okay, you threw it out there and posted a little teaser. I was like, okay, because I just met the pastor recently, man, and I was super impressed with his spirit, his love of the people, man. Kind of like you said, his energy was something that was really, really infectious and really positive. And I was like, man, you know how you meet somebody and you like, I would like to work with this person just because based off the energy that he brought into the room. And so that's a wonderful thing to hear, man. And however, we can help support that, we definitely down to do that as well. Well, thank y'all. I mean, for those that tuned in to this powerful conversation. I mean, we could mess around and go over about 2-3 more hours just chopping it up. You know what I mean?
For sure. We're telling those stories.
Yeah. Oh my God. Come on. We got so many. But we definitely want to, shout out to a Project Game, Brother Eric and Levon, who was really the people that conceived this conference and helped and brought this conference together. And to say like this is just, I feel like we're on the edge because tomorrow is our keynote address. So we want y'all to turn in tomorrow at 2 p.m. Our keynote is from Dr. Yusef Salaam of the Exonerated Five. He's one of the most inspirational. I've been blessed to spend time with the brother, and he's just one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. His story is phenomenal. And so please tune in to hear him. And there'll be a panel with Brother Eric and Levon to go into a little bit of like what brought them to this point to want to produce a conference like this. And so tune in tomorrow at 2. You'll get to hear Yusef. You'll get to hear Brother Levon and Eric. Farouk Al-Saeed will be moderating that conversation. And just, we're so appreciative of Levon, Eric, Penn State Greater Allegheny, and Game for having the foresight to bring, and that's kind of that thing that we talked about. Like, you know, it was funny because when we first put it together, they weren't even on no panels. It's like, but you know, their thing was really trying to center the work that other people were doing in the community. And that's that spirit of unity that we kind of talked about on this. Although everybody you see, we represent different organizations, we work together. You know what I'm saying? We work together, we support one another, and we appreciate one another. And so, you know, Malcolm's phone probably overheated again. That's probably like a thing to me that it's time to go. So shout out to
there he is.
Okay,
there
you back. Okay, you back to get the proper send off. And so, you know, follow up with us. You know, if you have any information, you know, Cornell's information in the chat. Malcolm is very accessible. Kev, you know, One Nation Mentoring is in the chat. Hit us up, and then tune in tomorrow too. We'll see y'all again. Peace. One love, y'all.
Peace.